We can kickstart now. A very warm welcome to all of you for the faculty development program on Python programming fundamentals, and the objective today is to go through the basics of Python and have a hands-on experience on working with Python. We are going to make use of VS Code editor for writing our codes, right? So it's going to be the software where you are going to write your code, compile it, and test your applications that you are going to develop on Python. Okay, so the mode of the workshop is going to be purely hands-on. We will go through the topics in a asynchronous way, which means that we'll be having some sort of a program with us that we'll try to target, and we'll try to learn the things on the way. So I think the first step to proceed further is to understand how we can get started with the basic application of printing the output on the monitor of this VS Code, or you can say the terminal of VS Code. So in Python you have a very simple statement, that is print, which is used to print the output on the terminal, and here I can write some message within the quotes, like a very good morning to all of you. Like if I write good morning, okay, so this is how it is going to be. There's no need for any semicolon at the last. It is going to be a simple print statement. You have to just save the code in some folder on your machine. Once it is saved, you can just run your application by clicking on run, and you can write start debugging, or maybe you can just go to run and run without debugging. So once you get this kind of an error, it means there is no extension of Python installed. You have to go and install the extension of Python for VS Code. So there are certain extensions that you need to install. So let's go and do that part. I'll go to extensions. I'll click here and I will search for Python. Okay. So once you are here, click on this link. So you can see that this is not installed and it is prompting you with a message called install. I'll just click on that. So now there is an extension of Python which is getting installed in VS Code. Okay, so your machine should have the Python module installed, the latest one, and once you are working on VS Code, then the extension for Python should be enabled over here, just like that. So once you save the code with .py and you try to run it, maybe this message will come that okay, this extension is not available, you should install it. Just go to extension, search for Python, and whatever the top option comes in, use that and install it. Okay, so this is what is happening over here. It is getting installed. Extension, I can just close this one. I can go to run and click on run without debugging. Okay, so now once I run it, you can see the message getting printed over here. Good morning. Okay, so this is executing perfectly fine. Now this is how you work with the output, that is how to print the output on the screen. Okay, but the next question is how to take the input from the user and process it. Okay, so let's try a few things over here. Let's get rid of this. Now what I will do, I'll just say x is equal to input, and here I will write enter first number, okay. So I am asking the user to enter the first number, and then what I will write, I'll just write print x. Okay, so I'm taking the user input, I'm storing it in a variable called x, and then I'm just printing it on the console. Okay, now if I try to run this program, run without debugging, so you can see a message coming at the bottom. It says enter first number. If I write 5 and enter, it just prints this number 5 over here at the output. Okay, so this is working fine. Okay, now let's try to take the discussion forward. Let's take the second number and store it in y. So if I write y and I say input and I say enter second number colon, and I store it in y and I write print y over here, right? So I'll save this program. I'll go to run without debugging. First number I'm entering, let's say, is 5. Second number I'm entering is 6. So you can see 5 is printed and then it is 6 over here, right? Now I want to take a third variable z and I want to add these numbers. So if I say z is equal to x plus y, this is going to give me the addition of these two numbers. And what I want is, I want to print the result. What I will write, print z over here, okay? So this is what I've done. Pretty simple program. You're just taking the user input, storing it in x and y, and then printing x, printing y. And in between on line number 3, what I have done, I have taken another variable z and I'm asking to just add these two numbers x and y. And later on line number 6, I am printing z. So pretty simple program. Just analyze what is going to happen over here. So once you try to run it and the message comes over here, enter the first number, you write 5, second number you write 6. And when you try to add, z is x plus y. So what happened over here? The first number was x, which was 5. The second number was y, which was 6. Once you added 5 and 6, the result should be 11, but it was showing 56 over here on the screen. Why? It means clearly that it has concatenated these two numbers. So there is a concatenation which has taken place. X and Y, they just concatenated together, joined together. Why this happened? It happened because in Python, whenever the user input is provided, it is always treated as a string. So it is a property of the strings that once we use this plus operator over here, it is not going to do the conventional addition. It is actually going to concatenate the two strings together. So any input that user is going to provide in Python, it will be treated as a string. Okay. So we can also check this fact by just printing the type of x. So if I just write over here, print type of, x over here. So just try to rerun this code, run without debugging. So enter the first number, it is 5, second number, let's say 6. So you can see that because of this line number 4, where I printed the type of x, I am getting the result as class string, which means clearly that any input that you take in Python from the user, it is always going to be treated as a string. So what we do typecasting. Typecasting is like you are forcing, a variable of a particular type to behave in a certain manner. So by default, the property says it's going to be a string. And since I am interested to work out the arithmetic operation, right? So I have to convert it either in this one into an integer or a floating point number. So for that, I do the typecasting. And the best way to do that is just put a float in front of this and put a parenthesis again. So what this does, this is going to force the type of the input that is going to be provided by the user, and the string that user is going to provide is going to get converted into a float because of this typecasting. So this is called as typecasting in Python, where you are converting the variable of one type into a variable of another type. So by default it was string, and now because you have put in float before that, it gets converted into a floating point number. This is where the forcing of the type happens, and this is what we call as the typecasting, right? Yes, you give integer, it will be treated as a float. So if you enter 6, it will be taking it as 6.0. If you enter 5, it will be taking it as 5.0. If you enter 5.37, it will be taking it as 5.37. So which means that the arithmetic operation now will be the floating point operations. Now, once you run line number 3, z is equal to x plus y, it is going to perform the conventional, arithmetic operation of addition, and the two numbers gets added, and I need not to have this line number 4, I can just get rid of this. I'll just print x, y and z, which is the result. Okay, I'll save this code and I'll go to run and run without debugging. Enter the first number. Let's just get it right here. Let's write 5, let's write 6 here. And now you can see that when I printed x, it was 5.0. When I printed y, it was 6.0. And when I, added the numbers, took it in z and printed z, it is 11.0. So now proper arithmetic addition has taken place, right? An arithmetic operation has taken place over here, and you're getting the result the way you wanted. Okay. So this is typecasting. This is something which is a very, very important concept, how to convert a particular type of input into another type. So by default, the catch point is that it is going to be a string, and you can force it to get converted into a float or an integer. If you put float before that, it gets converted into a float. If you just put int, it gets converted into an int. So depending on your needs of calculation, you can just play around with this particular fact.
Like suppose I don't want to print this y and z, y and x and y, I only want the result z. So then also it is going to show the result?
Yeah. I can just save this, just delete these two lines, run without debugging, enter first number 5 and then a 6, then you get 11 straight away. If you want to print some message before that, that's also a possibility, right? So what I can do is I can write a print, and then here I can just write the addition result is, and then it will just show the result, prints it. So I can just go to run without debugging, enter the number 5, 6, the addition result is 11. So you get a message also over here, right? The addition result is 11. Is it clear? This calculation is okay, right? So now you just understood what is typecasting in Python.